What's up, guys? This is Hit You Good, and today we're actually able to float the idea of finally, after years of asking for it, COD players being able to congregate once again on that land in the sweet by and by. No longer constrained by the console, no longer separated by the PC, but every member of the COD kingdom coming together in fellowship and teabagging of that shining house on the hill of the estate, overlooking the vast and beautiful scenes of Afghan, and trick-shotting off the cranes of that wonderful high-rise in the sky. The time is coming, folks, and I hope you're ready for the Modern Warfare 2 Remastered multiplayer experience.
Oh, I'm a what do you want me to use? Faggot. You tell me what you want to proceed.
Well, kinda. I mean, basically, that's what it's gonna be. A Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer remaster. Perhaps maybe a little too remastered for some, but still, I'm looking forward to what Infinity Ward might have in store for the year 2 of Modern Warfare 2, 2022. How many times can we say 2? Now, the main reason that Activision gave players for remastering the Modern Warfare 2 campaign and not the multiplayer was because they didn't want to split the player base from their record-breaking Modern Warfare 2019 title. And even though we didn't really like that, it did kind of make perfect sense from a marketing standpoint that Activision simply didn't want to undercut their biggest success when it was at its peak. That's something that most gamers could come to understand. Now that does lead us to today, where players who are used to a yearly release of COD are now facing a 2-year game. In my opinion, I really do think it's great. A 2-year game rotation is going to be a better deterrent from absolute dumpster fires like Vanguard and some other crap that Call of Duty has done over the years that's been rushed and not ready when it comes out. And hopefully some of these new games will see the attention to detail that Modern Warfare 2019 gave us and really bring out a lot more content that's focused more on quality instead of quantity. But this new format has left us wondering what Infinity Ward has up their sleeve to keep gamers engaged for 2 straight years. We're not used to that. The industry, the community isn't used to that. But their next step for the second year of Modern Warfare 2 makes perfect sense. Just when the hype starts to die down, according to the latest tweet from Ghost of Hope, they plan to just dump one big map pack of every single Modern Warfare 2 map from back in 2009. What better way to get players' interest renewed than to bring them back with this sucker punch of nostalgia, right? Now sure, not all these maps were loved, but at this point, I mean really, who wouldn't want to travel back in time as a younger version of themselves and play on one of the lesser maps like Derailed? I certainly know I would. I gotta say that going back to Modern Warfare 2 and from 2009 to get this footage really is an awesome nostalgia trip. As long as you can find a lobby, that is. MW2 has renewed some of that excitement for this old game, and if you don't know what that is, it's really cool. You need to check it out. It's basically a bunch of members of the COD community joining together to make their own newer servers for this game, and there's a lot more people playing on that than the old one, which is pretty cool. So if you want to go back to those, that's definitely an option. Just takes a little bit of time to set up. But even if you do go back to that, the fact that it isn't mainstream, it kind of takes away from the experience. Because after all, back in the day, all me and my friends were talking about when it came to video games was how awesome Modern Warfare 2 was, and when we were hopping on later that evening. Unfortunately, and sadly, all that's gone. There aren't any midnight releases of hundreds of people lined out the door of GameStop, clamoring to get their hands on a copy of the next Call of Duty game. However, I'm hoping that we can capture just a little bit of that magic back with some new memories when Infinity Ward releases this massive DLC pack in year 2. Of course, it's not going to play the same as back then. I'm totally aware of that. You know, if you remember Modern Warfare 2, it was an even more unbalanced game than any contemporary title today, with noob tubes and RPGs and Army of One perks and the sheer ridiculousness of some of the kill streaks. It was absolute chaos all day, every day. But, you know, that's part of the reason that we loved it. And that being said, that's probably not going to come back once it's on the new Infinity Ward engine. But we trade off having the original maps and reliving at least some of the 2009 hype for ending up with more advanced movement that's going to cause the maps to play pretty differently than it did back then, and more advanced graphics, which I'm okay with. We're never going to truly relive those days, but it really is fun to try, and those efforts are definitely not in vain. I encourage you to try to do so from time to time. I know when I did my retro review series that you can check out in the card above, trying to go back and play some of those games really had me reliving some of the best times of my life from the late 2000s and early 2010s. You know, it almost actually brought a tear to your eye just wishing you could truly go back. And I kind of hope Infinity Ward can at least simulate that a year from now. So, that being said, I'm kind of also hoping that at least for a while, they can put all these maps into a single rotation, a single game mode, have a nostalgia game mode that uses all these maps, and the ones that played well, you know, you can add into the regular playlist of Modern Warfare 2 once they've been thoroughly player tested. The big question is, would fans rather have some remastered maps in the way of map design that, say, addresses the bulletproof plants on top of the roof in Favela? Or would they want to play the game as closely as possible to its original form? I'll say that having these games remastered and only touching the graphics would still feel pretty authentic. After all, back in the day, we were mesmerized by this state-of-the-art graphics system that just, quote, couldn't possibly get much better. Seeing Underpass, Quarry, or Karachi in modern-day graphics would probably simulate that same experience we had in 2009, because if you go back to this old games of Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 2, they're really dated as far as graphics goes. It's not horrible, but you do notice a big difference. So if you want to simulate that all you have to do is, you know, update the graphics, and there we are again. But once again, if you really want to relive some of those maps before next year, check out my retro reviews playlist and let me know which retro review I need to do next. And let me know what you think. Are you excited to revisit some of those old maps again? Would you want them to be redesigned to improve game flow, or left exactly how they were? Leave your comments below, like this video, and subscribe to see more from your favorite All-American freedom-loving gamer. God bless, happy gaming, get you good out.